Alright, so in this video I want to talk about how you could potentially get your first job as a visual effect artist. So I think firstly you need to decide what you want to work as in the visual effects industry. You know, do you want to be a compositor, maybe a 3D artist? So for me personally, I mainly focus on compositing, but I also do quite a bit of 3D work. For example, you know, I worked on a couple of commercials for IMG where I had to create these kind of complex 3D scenes for the intro and like the outro sequences. They don't require any modeling. It was mostly just cubes and the statue in the middle, for example, that was Bo. But I mainly focused on texturing and lighting and rendering, which of course was a collaborative process with the director. And here's the thing, you might change your mind in what you want to work as, but you need to go through the process to just make sure that you know what you want to do. For example, if you start as a compositor and then later you find out, oh, I'm really into lighting, then you know you could potentially become a lighter. So yeah, you just kind of have an idea of like what you want to do. And I know that different job titles might require different approaches on how to get your first job, so I'm gonna keep this pretty generic. Alright, so we're gonna start with something quite important, which is creating your portfolio website and your reel. This is extremely important because this is how you're going to be seen, so you want to make sure that it's very personal and you put a lot of effort into creating your website, even just the design. It could be something very minimalistic, but just creating something that you like reflects your personality. And if you haven't had any jobs yet and you maybe just finished university or you haven't gone to any school at all, like me, then I would suggest maybe coming up with a few ideas. For example, for me, when I started, I wrote down a list of 5 ideas that were quite ambitious, but they were something that could potentially be quite impressive. And also you want to make sure that you show diversity within your reel. So it's not just one thing that you do in there. You could potentially make 5 completely different shots. And this would be also a very good learning curve. You could learn a lot throughout the time when you work on your reel. You also want to make sure that you come up with original ideas rather than watching tutorials and kind of copying them. You want to make sure that you take the knowledge from the tutorials, but you come up with something original for your reels. So you don't use someone else's work, you come up with your own stuff. So just be very original and unique with your ideas. Sometimes I remember when reading some of the job descriptions, sometimes I would see that they want someone to create a realistic cloud that would kind of fly through this scene. And for those kind of jobs that I could read, oh, what they exactly want, I would probably just like create something very similar and put in my reel before applying for that specific job. And that's something else that, you know, it adds to your reel and adds diversity. So once you have your reel, I think you're probably ready to apply for some jobs. And the best website I found, and actually I started on that website, I don't know what it was called back then, but now it's called Mandy.com. And on that website there's actually a big diversity of jobs. So even if you're a compositor, a 3D modeler, or a renderer, and if it's your first job, I just want to say that you might not get quite a lot of the jobs that you apply for. A lot of the time they don't even respond to your application. It's just something to prepare for. So when you go on Mandy, for example, you actually have the option to write a cover letter and attach a file. And for that file attachment, you could potentially attach your reel or your CV. For your cover letter, I would recommend that you write something short and informative, something simple, but something that would sum up why you want that specific job and what they would benefit from having you on the job. And I would also recommend reading the whole description, because sometimes they mention in the middle that you have to write independent film 2012 into your application just so they know that you read the whole description and you're not just spamming. Because it happened a lot to me that I didn't get any response back, and I went back, I read the description fully this time, and I saw, oh shit, I should have wrote something along those lines. About that. One really good thing about Mandy or applying on websites like Mandy is that you can potentially meet a lot of producers and directors on this that you could maybe stick with for the next, you know, like 5-10 years. Like for example, I have a friend who I work with on commercials, and yeah, we just met on Mandy, and ever since we've been working on commercials, and he invited me to work on like music videos and stuff. So it's definitely, you can build really professional like relationships and friendships with the people on there. So it's very good website. And also don't be scared if the project you're applying for is something that you've never done, because that's actually something you should do. You should challenge yourself and just think about how much you could learn from an experience like that, where you go into this job without like having much knowledge of whatever, you know, you have to do, where you have to do all this research to just come up with the methods you have to use to create that specific visual effect. And one last thing, you just gotta make sure that you're very positive about it. Even if you don't get many jobs at first, you just gotta make sure that you stick with it and stay focused where you want to be rather than where you are at that moment. But yeah, this is the tips I got, how to get your first VFX jobs and how to continually get your VFX jobs, because you continually have to grow your reel and you have to, you know, test your cover letters. You know, this one maybe you write a little bit longer, this one you write a little bit shorter, and see, maybe, you know, some people respond to the shorter one. Oh, maybe just go with the shorter one then. It's a lot of stress when you don't hear back from jobs, but it's just something you have to go with. And on Mendy especially, there's so many jobs that you can apply for. So yeah, start working on your reel and let me know in the comments if you are on Mendy or not. And also don't forget to subscribe and support the channel by sharing and liking and commenting, and thank you.